Okay. Hello, everybody. Better late than never. Here we are. Let me just start off by welcoming everybody who's a new member, especially who hasn't had a satsang or a retreat with us or a class, etc. I'm Dharma, and we're going to be bringing you Yogi to Yogi, which is what we like to think of as, heart advice on the path from an elder person on the path ahead of you. Basically, this is an extremely important part of the oral tradition, and it makes sure that we know what we're doing, because from textbooks we can't really draw what we need to know when it comes to practicing. It's very difficult to get that advice. You're like, oh, I'm having this happen in my practice, what do I do? Or et cetera, okay? So that's what this class is about. Now, let me tell you, we're in the middle of a bit of a rainstorm here in Costa Rica. There's been power outages since last night to this morning. Not unusual in this country, but these are coming quite rapidly and quite close together. So we've noticed that if a power outage happens and it doesn't go for more than like 2 or 3 minutes, that Facebook will pick up right where it left off. You won't have any break in the continuity of what you're receiving. So just hang on there. If it goes longer than that and we lose our whole connection, I'll just start up another whole window like I did on the plant medicine talk the other day as well. Okay? All right. So now let's jump in with the questions right away. And Suki's going to be reading them so I can't see them here. She's going to read them to me. Okay, Suki, anybody have a question? Does anybody ask if anybody has a question?
I'm delayed because I'm listening to you. What is the right view concerning ambition and effort in practice? Can there be too much ambition or effort with adverse effects?
Okay, what's the right view on effort and ambition in practice, right? Okay, it's a complex topic because we know that if we are talking about achieving a result of anything in this dualistic world, we have to put in effort. What we have to do is try to find in this tradition the natural effort, meaning what is coming from your natural appetites and from your nadi. So let's say my nadi is to be a great sports person. Well, and that sport requires that I work out 3 times a day. There may be 1 or 2 times I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, but the thought of my nadi, the thought of competing, the thought of just being in that arena of working out and being in that zone and so forth draws me out and makes me want to do it in a really beautiful way. It doesn't become like, oh, I don't want to do this is terrible. So we want to find that natural appetite, that natural effort that way. It's also true that in the beginning of spiritual practice or in any kind of endeavor like this, indeed in this world, we don't see results right away. So sometimes it takes a bit of effort before we actually see results. And that may be a little bit harder for you to provide inspiration for yourself to keep going. So basically in the tradition it's taught like this. We want to keep a certain sense of ambition. We want to keep a certain sense of expectation of results and effort without becoming strenuous, right? And strenuous in this way would be really starting to run yourself down, really getting depleted or getting negative emotional states because you're forcing yourself to do sadhana, forcing yourself that hard to do sadhana. I think if you're forcing yourself that much, that you're losing aspiration, that you're losing the joy and the love of it, you're doing something wrong. You're probably pushing beyond where you actually are at that time in your spiritual life. And anytime we do that, we take ourselves out of connection to where we really are in our actual situation, we will suffer, right? Now the purpose of sadhana in spiritual life is to end suffering. So to bring more suffering on by doing spiritual practices is really a bad thing. Sometimes in the past, students would develop an inimical kind of enemy, persecutor, predator kind of relationship with the teachings, with the practices, feeling like, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I should be doing this. And this is a very bad sign. If this is what you have going on, you need to just relax, go out a lot more, socialize. Don't get so involved in heavy practice because I don't think heavy practice is really for you. If it doesn't make you really happy to have some spare time to meditate, happy to get into books and read about spirituality, then it's probably not for you at this stage in your life. That's the key. The same inimical attitude can be projected onto the teacher who's encouraging you to practice, who feels great aspiration, lifting them all the time, and they're giving you that inspiration in a way, and by example, and you feel the transmission vibe of their enthusiasm. But then start people who have kind of a resistance to it because it's not in them yet will start to feel that the teacher is persecuting them with their inspiration, aspiration, and encouragement, which of course says that the student is beginning to slip dangerously into the hell realm. When you start to see someone who's encouraging you and loving you and getting you to aspire as someone who is persecuting you, you're on your way into the hell realm. All that comes because of too much tension around thinking what you should be doing, right? So we have to put out some effort. Now, this especially is in the case of the people who are following the path or the way of fire when we're talking about Kundalini Hatha Yoga. There, I mean, your body's an immovable hunk of duality, you know, and to get it to become operating and feeling like and perceived as pure light, it's going to take a heck of a lot of work. That work, like the athlete example I was giving earlier, could sometimes feel like you're pushing a rock uphill, like Sisyphus or something, but it really isn't, and it's just something that you have to work with constantly until it becomes habitual. We know that anything that's a habit is easy. So I want to do my practice of posture and breathing and mudra and kumbhaks every morning until it becomes a habit, until my body is craving it and missing it. When I don't have that open feeling in the channels, that connection to the energies and my source that I get through Kundalini Hatha Yoga and meditation as well. Of course, meditation can be seen as strenuous too, but if you're at the place where you start to see meditation as strenuous, then you're seriously in trouble, okay? We can understand it with Hatha Yoga a little bit, but with meditation, shouldn't be so. So that's a great question and very good for all of us to revisit constantly. Am I practicing from my natural appetite? Is it coming right out of my natural appetite and flowing out? Do I really look forward to it? Do I really want it? If I have to should myself into it or guilt myself into it, you know, it's not the best place. But to be honest, when we first wake up in stage 1 and go into stage 2, 3, there's a lot of that we have to do. We have to think, geez, I should be doing this. Why? I'm messing up my life. I'm not contributing to the world. I'm not helping my family. I'm using money for entertainment that I should be using for my kids' school or their clothes. Or, you know, we have to do that in the beginning, get rational about it so we can really pour ourselves into or put ourselves clearly into our actual situation. And we realize, okay, yeah, I should do this sadhana, but it comes from within now instead of applied from moralistic standards outside, okay? So hopefully that covers it. If it didn't cover it, whoever asked it and you want to tweak on it, send it off to Suki. Next question, Sukalia.
Melanie asks, do you engage mula bandha when invoking Lord Ganesha practice in the foundation practice teachings?
Okay. The foundation practice teachings, like all teachings, come outer, inner, secret, most profound. 4 levels, right? When you do the outer level of practice, you see Ganesha as, and you experience Ganesha as a loving, protective source of energy, always present, and you treat it in this way, and you respect and ask that he comes and sits with you. That's what you're doing with the chant. And that Ganesha comes and sits with you, and he clears all your obstacles externally and internally to the practice and to your spiritual life and your life in general. When you're practicing, and there you don't need a Numulaband, right? You're just doing a chant and a visualization. When you're going to the inner level, you're bringing in the yogic level, meaning now you're trying to match internally what you're trying to invoke externally and dissolve that boundary between internal and external, right? So in this case, we breathe in through both side channels with a long, deep breath to the base. We bring that energy to the Muladhara chakra, and we take a soft Mulabandha as we hold that breath there. As we hold the breath, Ganesha will ascend the central channel, right? He goes up and stops in the heart. And he starts to expand in the visualization. He expands in the heart in his red light body, the Ugra form, fierce form of Ganesh, clearing obstacles. He expands, he gets big. Next thing you know, he's bigger than your body, much bigger, and then you're sitting buoyant in his heart, completely protected. Then the room around you that you're practicing is protected. The building, maybe the block, maybe the town, maybe your whole country or the whole earth, if your mind is big enough, for the universe. And you see him kind of expanding in his red light body and pressing out all the obstacles, creating a safe, sacred zone to practice, okay? That whole time you're holding that Mulabandha, and then you exhale softly as you expand him out. You bring him to the heart, and you exhale softly as you expand him out. Let go of the Mulabandha, let it expand out, okay? So that's how we would do that if you want to do it on the inner level. So either level's fine.
Yuri asks, How do you maintain the vitality of permanent practice throughout the days without becoming a sheep in this lying world?
How do you maintain the vitality of the practice?
Permanent practice throughout the day
Permanent practice.
without becoming a sheep in this lying world.
This is where I wish you were sitting in the audience with me, because I'm not quite catching how you maintain I guess you're saying, how do you maintain an openness, a surrender? I hope that's what you're saying. Maybe you can write in to clarify that for a second. Sounds like you're asking, I'm assuming that you're asking something like, how do you maintain an openness and a softness, a compassion, and a desire to be linked up with everybody from the heart going through your day, while there are people that are out there trying to rip you off constantly, right? Because the world's composed of all kinds of people. And we know that people will definitely be trying to rip people off, take advantage, make money on you, et cetera, manipulate you. How do we stay open? It's an age-old question too, like the strenuous question earlier. And it's not something that we're unfamiliar with, right? Everybody's had this experience. So how do we do it? How do we do it? It's not really a how as much as you just have to do it. Here's what always comes in my mind is, I know that everybody arises from the base just like I do. I know that everybody has access to the base just like I do. I know that I've had how many millions of lifetimes of suffering and samsara where I was trying to rip people off, where I was trying to harm people. We've all had that experience. That's why we're here. So I know that if a person is still following that path of trying to rip me off, being a lion in sheep's clothing, then I know that they haven't woken up enough or matured enough yet to realize that that's a dead end. So in that way, they're still a baby. They're still an infant. And just like when my two children would throw up on me when I was holding them and they would throw up on me, I wouldn't beat them, right? Well, then I don't really hate or have, what could I say? A sense of wanting to harm those lion in sheep's clothing, people that are out to harm us and get us, even in a minor way or a big way. So in one sense, I'm not going to hold it against them. That's their nature at this point in their journey. On the other sense, I'm going to remain as savvy as I can, vet everybody I have the possibility of vetting, and I'm going to listen to the wisdom of the masters who said, listen, there's a lot of people out there trying to prey on you. Don't be silly just because you're going into non-dual meditation, non-dual yoga, experiencing the oneness and the heart of the universe at the base that we all are. Just because everybody has that potentiality doesn't mean they've awakened that sense within themselves yet. So you got to be sharp. You got to be on it. So it's important not to be taken. I think this is extremely important. Everybody has their way of being naive, being taken. Even teachers. I was taken for over a decade, more like a decade and a half or two, by students who were telling me, oh, I'm so committed to the Dharma. Oh, I really want to practice. Oh, I really want to evolve. And then they wouldn't do anything about it. They really wouldn't practice deep. They lose the teachings, and I hear about them now here and there, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? Didn't they learn anything when they were there, So we all have our blind sides where we're naive. I would listen to somebody say, oh, I'm totally responsible for myself and the teachings and the practices, and I can handle a relationship with a teacher, and I'm going to go for it. But they couldn't. Like that. And I always want to give people the benefit of a doubt, right? So, I have tradesmen or people that would work for me, would come over and they'd start working for my company, and I'd feel for them, and I'd give them a job, and I'd pay them well, and then they'd take advantage of it. This happened a lot. So we all have our blind sides. So, your question is felt. We all get it. It happens to us. And it's going to be one of those things. You're going to go through your life. Sometimes you're going to get taken advantage of. Other times you're going to not be taken advantage of. But what do you do to keep the result of your practice? Constantly remember that you are essence, that they are essence, but they may not have awoken to it to the degree that you are. So they may try to take advantage of you. So have a surface level awareness of protection while your heart feels fully engaged. And I think I offered this example before the other week of Neem Karoli Baba advising one of his Indian students who was called into the army to fight on the border with China when China was attacking and coming across the border, which they do quite often. And Neem Karoli Baba, the great tantric guru, was saying, go, fight, shoot them, kill all the Chinese, And this Indian student of his said, Baba, you told us to love everybody. This is horrible. How can I go and kill them all like this? He said, no, I'm not telling you to take them out of your heart. Go and kill them. They're trying to take your home, your family, you're trying to kill you. Go and kill them. That's your Dharma, but never take them out of your heart. And, you know, it's a good question that you're raising, because this may be ultimately the most difficult aspect of the spiritual path. It's not just Dharma people that have to do this. Christians are supposed to be doing this too, you know. So another quarter or 20% of the planet are Christians, right? They're supposed to be practicing the same way. So what happens in a negative way is sometimes we start to get this feeling of, well, people that aren't awakened are a different species, because that's how it's talked about in the oral tradition. And it's kind of true, you know, in this way. But they're not different in that they're not connected to the base, just like you, they are. And they have the capacity for compassion. It just hasn't awoken in them yet. So, like Teddy Roosevelt used to say, walk softly, carry a big stick. It's really good advice. Walk softly, be sweet, kind, and gentle, carry a big stick, right? Okay, next question.
Eleni says, Dharma, I love the prayer Sri Dhanvantari. Can you please tell me a little about the prayer?
The Sri Dhanvantari prayer, Eleni wants to know about the Ayurveda prayer. Padma, can you grab the painting? Can you reach it? It's in the kitchen. See if you can reach it. I'm going to have Padma shoot upstairs and grab the painting so I can even illustrate it with what's shown in the icon itself that was painted for me by Dinesh. Aum Shankam Chakram Jalaokam Tadhatam Ratagatam Charudorbish Chaturbihi Sukshma Svachati Hridyam Shuka Pari Vilasan Maulim Ambhojanetram. So up to that point in the prayer, we're describing what he's holding, what he's wearing, and what he arises from, which I'd like to show you on the painting. Here comes Dhanvantari floating in space into the room as we invoked him with the chant. Oh, here he is. Now, here's a beautiful painting that Dinesh made of Sri Dhanvantari, the god of Ayurveda, of healing. Let's see if I can get it straight here. Aum Shankam Chakram. So first thing he's saying is Aum Shankram. This is the shank, or the, where am I pointing? This is the shank, or the shell. All these have significance. Shells represent auspiciousness, so the auspicious power of healing. This is the chakram, or the healing light disc that was borrowed from Vishnu to cut through all of disease and so forth. You can see he's holding a medicine pot in his hands there. That's the ultimate immortality medicine. His other hand in the fear-dispelling mudra that you see over here isn't in the prayer, actually. So the Nepali version, the Newari painters used Nepali version, is different than the Sanskrit old version that says Jalaokam, that he's holding leeches in his hand. So that's what he's holding. So leeches, of course, are used in healing all around the world. The chakras to cut through the spiritual aspect of disease and so forth that you have. I'm trying to see around this at the same time. And the shankam is used for many things in Ayurveda, for reducing acid and heat and pitta conditions. And this is also why the Natha yogis wear them as armbands and as earrings. There's healing properties there. But the conch is also one of the auspicious symbols, you know, because it's blown during, where am I? It's blown, this one, conch. It's blown during ceremonies. Okay. Dadharam Ritagatam. He's holding a pot of medicine. Charu Dorbish Chaturbihi. So he's supposed to be Sukshma Svachati Hridyam Shuka Pari Vyasama. He's supposed to be clothed in beautiful yellow. So this is different as well. The chant is saying he's clothed in yellow cloth, beautiful yellow cloth. Now, you can see he's in the ocean. Look at that beautiful ocean, rising up on the ocean. There's a few takes on what that means. Rising up on the ocean here means he rose up out of the ocean of samsara as the healing being, because it's kind of like the dark waters, and he's supposed to be this real light being. So this is another beautiful aspect of the chant. Ambhojanetram. So he has these eyes. Ambhojanetram are like these beautiful eyes, like a cow, right? So he has a thin waist, it says, and he goes up in like a V shape, kind of that nice look when your waist is thin and you have this more of a V shape. And he's clothed in yellow, like you said. So he's got this aura around him that you see too. So parivida samalim, this is the aura of enlightenment surrounds his head. So there's some beautiful aspects to this chant. Kalam bodho jwalangam, that's him rising up. Kati tata vilasacharu pitambarajam bande ganva. So now the last part says he creates a healing salve, whatever, to quell the great conflagration of illness, right? Very beautiful. So this is what we're chanting. There should be a translation there. So Eleni, there should be a translation there with it. If not, you can probably find one online quite nicely. Yeah, but this is what it's about. And this is a beautiful image. And if people want to have that image, we can have them reproduced here from this beautiful one that Dinesh did for us. When people come for retreat in the future, we just had a meeting about this. We're going to try to supply you with more things to help your practice. So we're getting the beautiful bells from our bell maker in Bali. We're going to have more copies of the refuge tree painting, beautiful high quality copies for you, etc. You can get those here too. And think of have a few other key deities and things like that we'll have. Any other questions?
Yeah. This is from Guru Seva. It's a little long. So
okay, long question coming from Guru Seva.
Can you please elaborate on sankalpa and motives? To clarify, I've heard in Satyananda's Yoga Nidras that anything in life can fail except a sankalpa made at the beginning and at the end of the Yoga Nidra, as well as for the practitioner to make sure the motives are a benefit for all beings instead of egotistical. So in other words, how does the sankalpa's imprint come to life?
Okay, so the science and technology of sankalpa is quite neuroscientific as much as it is spiritual. A sankalpa, or a resolve that we make, especially at the beginning and of Yoga Nidra, and that we hold all day long in our spiritual practice, some spiritual intent. This sankalpa, this phrase that's repeated, it's repeated at usually when you're transitioning from beta to alpha wave brainwave frequencies in Yoga Nidra, right at the beginning, after you do a bit of guna invocation, right? I feel heavy, I feel light, I feel warm, I feel cool, I'm floating on the ceiling, whatever. Then all of a sudden your brainwaves have moved into the borderline between beta, alpha, maybe into alpha. Alpha takes imagery very deeply in and produces a lot of healing in your body, all kinds of things. So that's why here it's said at that point. Also, as you're coming back out, you're repeating it again. So you're coming back out into that alpha zone again. So Yoga Nidra does not have you repeat it when you're into theta or delta brainwave frequencies, or in other words, deeper aspects of the Yoga Nidra, because there you're not trying to be so structured in kind of an externalized dualistic sense of here's my goal and I want to achieve it. When you're deeper in the practice, you're trying to invoke and relax into very deep aspects of your own nature, especially in the progressive way we teach Yoga Nidra, where you're working through stage by stage by stage to take it right back into your essence. So Yoga Nidra becomes one of the three ways that we should be completely integrated with non-duality, right? The experience of our base, standing, seated, and lying down. Standing covers moving as well. So really that could be four, you could say. So as we go deeper into the Yoga Nidra, we don't want that sankalpa to be something we're repeating in our minds with effort right now. We're trying to let go of that part of our mind now and go even deeper into sort of like spontaneous arising pratibha, or intuition, or intuitive imagery, and guiding that from the inner place into deeper spiritual places. So the sankalpa placed at alpha in both ends of the Yoga Nidra really has a deep ability to program. And here's why people can achieve such fantastic results with the sankalpa in Yoga Nidra, or by practicing Silva mind control, or the Silva method, which I'm also a big fan of since I did it when I was a teenager. Both of those methodologies are able to speed up the process of habit formation incredibly by taking the amygdala, which has layer upon layer of writing in the programming of it, saying, I'm no good about this, or, I smoke cigarettes, I love cigarettes, I smoke cigarettes, I need cigarettes. And finally, that's all happening in the conscious mind, right? But with a lot of energy and intention. some bad habit. When you start performing a sankalpa, you're down at a deeper level of brainwave, a deeper level of mind, really, which is the main thing, the mind. And then you're able to overwrite very powerfully those negative programs that are stored in the amygdala, and really overwrite it very powerfully in such a way that it becomes a new reference point much faster. So you develop a very healthy habit, replacing the bad habit much quicker. That's actually how the sankalpa in that sense works. Then you're reifying it all day long by holding it in mind or in your intention here and there, revisiting it, right? Okay, that's how that works. Okay.
Hi, Dharma. I have a question about breath retention and asana movement. I have moved into doing the wind series with retention, which feels quite natural with no strain, and was wondering if other movements in the fire and water series are also safe to do with breath retention, such as leg raking, cycling, circling, turning, rowing, and so forth. Anything you feel important to say on this topic is.
Okay. Hungsara up in Portland doing a lot of yoga is asking me about a kind of secret aspect of the yoga practice in public. So let me talk around it a little bit, okay? I don't want to be too cryptic. There are real aspects of Kundalini Hatha Yoga that are definitely dangerous to the body. If a person is not prepared really well for them, step by step, slowly, slowly. They all involve pressure inside the circulatory system. Now, there is sort of a conditioning that has to take place where capillaries have to feel the pressure, and I'm only speculating here because I don't know any research on this, but I know that when we place pressure upon the circulatory system, the way we do, using breath retention, sometimes during movement, in real Kundalini Hatha Yoga, we are placing a lot of pressure on the capillary bed system, and the brain can experience a stroke in people who are not prepared for this, etc., over a long period of time. So I don't want to give instruction on actually how to do it over video, live. I don't even do it in the live, the video instruction classes that we're filming for the Trikamasa Yoga website coming up. We don't really get into that until we get to level 3 of Kundalini Hatha Yoga in person. But let's just say, so Hungsara, I like your question. Contact me privately, leaving for Asia tomorrow. We'll catch you on the road and we can talk about it. For everybody else, just know that if you follow the proper steps in the Kundalini Hatha Yoga program in the way of fire, you will step by step by step be prepared for any type of higher or stronger work that's involved with breath retention, bandhas, pressure, etc. Because there are channel problems that can come up, circulatory problems, pulmonary problems, problems with the pancreas, stomach acid, all kinds of things can go off the rails if you're not practicing with the teacher from the system. And that's why I think it's kind of really scary how much instruction I'm seeing about yoga and higher yoga on websites and by people that really have no experience at that level. It's quite shocking. You know, you can pick up a text like this. I brought this down for today, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and you can start to read it and try things that are in it, but it's an oral tradition. That's only a placeholder. Each one of those verses is only supposed to trigger the mind of the teacher into the whole slew of those cycle of teachings that they're supposed to give the student. So a question like this, when you give instruction like this, should really be done one-on-one. I don't believe in doing it in public, and I certainly don't I have a lot of respect for Namkha Norbu, the great Dzogchen master who just passed away recently. He was a great influence on me as well. But I would honestly discuss with him that I think it was very dangerous for him to teach Tibetan yoga the way he teaches it. He has people in live classes coming for the very first time, holding their breath, holding bandhas and holding deep breaths while performing rapid yoga postures, which are quite strenuous at times. And I think that's extremely dangerous. You know, as a Western physician, Western trained chiropractor, physical therapist, as well as my Eastern Ayurveda training and a little bit of dabbling in Chinese medicine, I think that's, very dangerous. I think it shouldn't be done. It's kind of irresponsible. So I know that goes on. I know there's teachers that do this all the time. I know that going out in the public and presenting like fantastic high-level stuff of yoga, tradition, Indian or Tibetan, in workshops kind of wows the public. makes them go, holy smokes, you know. And I realized that we're always having our thunder stolen by people that don't know half what we know because we don't go out there and put it out that way. But I feel a deep responsibility to the students, to their health and their mental health too, because it really messes up the mind channels. It makes people kind of loopy and crazy. To give you a case in point, I met one of these teachers who was teaching Tibetan yoga out there in the public. He had a proper teacher. Now check this out. He had a very proper teacher. He was very well trained himself. But I think he had gone a bit loopy in his own mind. He was teaching and he was super angry. I mean, burned with anger. Every little question that would come up from a student in the audience, you know, he would just lambast the person. And I thought, man, it's like the most common beginner question. It's quite innocent. This girl's asking this question. Why is he being so mean? I saw him do it 20, 30 times over a weekend with this guy. And then I started asking about the practice and blah, blah, blah. And I started seeing, yeah, you know, even with a good teacher, with good instruction, you're practicing. If you have the wrong intent, not quite pure enough, it can really mess up the mind channels too. And actually doing things physically wrong can mess up the mind channels, okay? So it's not such a simple thing. Anyway, if the path of fire, the way of fire, and Kundalini Hatha Yoga really interests you, and you want to go this way, just let me say this. The foundation level that's going to be online is for everybody. No one's going to get hurt by practicing that. No one's going to get hurt by practicing the level 2 either, coming to retreat. After that, what I do is I divide it, and the path, we're going to have like a Kundalini Hatha Yoga light is going to continue this way, and Kundalini Hatha Yoga traditional is going to continue this way. So for those who are the hardcore kind of warrior athlete types who are young enough to take advantage of this system and do it the real hardcore way, you will go this way, right? Or you can go light and this, you can do both. But I've decided to make a light version in copying some of the Tibetans who've done the same thing. It's quite smart, actually, so that everybody can participate without any possibility of damage to any organs or mind channels. And you all get a taste of what that higher yoga over here in the traditional way, that really advanced and powerful result might be like, okay? And as a caveat, just remember this. You don't need ultimate realization of the yogic path to have ultimate realization of your essential nature. It's about finding which path is right for you, which of the ways, the way of water, way of fire, way of meditation, way of the warrior, way of mirror consort. It's about finding which way is best for you, okay? Great.
Mark asks, I have established deep connection to the energies and wild nature places through deep immersion. What is the TMY view of spiritual development in which the Shakti of nature, the Anima Mundi, is recognized
The what?
as
The who?
Anima Mundi
Anima Mundi,
is recognized as Ishtadevata.
Is that Mark Genko?
Yeah, I know.
Who? Mark Lib, okay. Is recognized as Ishtadevata?
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe you're like more inclined along Franciscan practice, you know, being a Franciscan. St. Francis was really into that. You know, he said that nature was God, nature was his teacher. Very beautiful, actually. So Mark is asking, you know, you're going into nature so deeply, you're starting to realize it as this incredible divinity itself. Of course, yeah. So Bhudevi, the earth mother, this is actually the deity of the earth. In ancient Tantra and Veda, there is Bhudevi, right? Sita, you know Sita Ram, the wife of Rama. Sita means furrow, means like you plow in the ground and you have a furrow. We just lost our electricity, it looks like, or maybe not, it bleeped, let's see if it stays. So yes, nature can be recognized as this kind of deity. Now, can it be an Ishtadevi or Ishtadevata, as Mark is asking? Meaning, can it be the object of your devotion? Can it really be where you orient your practice and say, that's my deity who's going to give me liberating teachings and act as my icon of essence and so forth? And I think there's some possibility of that, Mark. There's some possibility of doing that. Now, it's not laid out clearly at all in any of the tantric tradition that I'm aware of. But in Taoist tradition, it's talked about a lot more. Now, I'm talking about in tantric tradition, it wasn't laid out in any text I know of. But the oral practice tradition seems to talk about it quite a bit, having come from the Mahasiddhas. The Mahasiddhas were people that went out in nature and lived in nature. They might have had family, they might have had a little community grow up around them, but they lived very deeply connected to nature, and they felt it was an essential aspect of the practice. Now, what is that essential aspect of the practice that we need? I'm looking out at the ocean right now, palm trees, rain coming down. It's just gorgeous, and I feel it. What is that essential necessity? What is that ingredient? Well, in the Taoist way of looking at it, in the Mahasiddha tradition from India, and the Nepal way of looking at it, it's saying that once we start to reach deeper places of meditative equanimity inside of ourselves, and we're starting to pierce into layers of understanding of the universe as energetic patterning, we may be able to see that energetic patterning. It may be revealed to us through the cycles of nature, right? And this is why astronomy developed, and astrology from astronomy developed, right? In the ancient times, there was no difference between astronomy and astrology. Oh, if it were only so now, that would be wonderful. So we know that there's great cycles of nature that are apparent if we wait long enough, and they've been recorded in the great traditions of India and China and Persia, long enough in Greece, for people to say, we see these huge cycles, and what do they mean about our inner being? In Tantra and Taoism, the great leap was as above, so below, like in the West as well. Hermes Trismegistus, right? As above, so below, or Bimba Pratibimba. We knew there was an innate connection between ourselves and the greater universe. And in that innate connection, that we were actually a holograph of that one wholeness of the universe, right? Cut off a little piece of the universe as us, we arise, and we reflect the entire universe once again within us. So I'm going around your question a bit, because making nature into your soul deity may work, but we don't have any ritual format for that, or text format for that, or mantras for that, or any of that kind of idea. In our tradition, it more informs overall what you're doing. In other words, at some point in our practice, usually stage 5 and up, we want to be in a regular contact with nature, if not living in nature. Even if it's a community, like a village of 2,000 people, tucked in a beautiful lake up in the mountains with no pollution or other people around for a mile, 100-mile, whatever radius. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be all alone. But there is this sense that we need a mirroring. We need to understand this connection to nature, and it brings something out within us. So we see this in the ancient Chinese and Japanese understanding of gardens that are placed in the center of homes. So houses will often be constructed with an open area in the center, and a garden will be placed in there. But these gardens are very particular. They'll have large stones representing mountains. They'll have ferns and mosses representing trees and plants and grasses and so on, and water bodies representing large lakes. And this is so that anywhere you're sitting in the house, you have a view into this vastu, this look into this wholeness, and you can see, and your inner psyche somehow is more complete because of that view. And that's what great lineage holders would do from India or China when they're living in homes in cities, right? Make a big courtyard. But the best, of course, is to be in direct contact with nature this way and have it all around you, right? So yes, of course, she is alive, this universe, and you are her, and she can come to you in many different forms in this way. But there is not a well-developed sense of using Mother Nature or the wild goddess of nature directly in the tantric system that I learned, or in the textual systems that I know of, right? So it's more like an important aspect or foundation of our practice all the way along that informs us. And it's just, there's something I should mention this. There's something about the large bodies, like huge lakes or huge ocean views, huge mountain views, big skies, right? Montana. This is said to be very important. The vastness of it is said to bring us out. The vastness, maybe it's affecting our mirror neurons all day long, right? It's making us think wider, larger, and open our energy. Maybe that's how it works. But it's said that the largeness of it is what is important, right? So being in touch with nature, but being deep in a dark forest where you're down in a little locked-in area may not be exactly what they were talking about unless you're regularly seeing and experiencing the larger features of that landscape or seascape, okay? Good.
Carolyn asks, can you please talk about the first precept and how we can relate to the Dharma as a friend?
So Caroline's asking about the first precept. How do we relate to the Dharma as a friend? I'm glad somebody's studying the precepts, because if you just live the precepts, you'll be enlightened. The The Dharma as your friend. How do you relate to the Dharma as your friend? Well, in a sense, what I really want us to do is think about this from a sense of the Abrahamic coalition of Judaism, Christianity, Islam. And even to a slight degree, the rules in Jainism and the 8 right things you have to do in Buddhism, to a slight degree. Now, let's go back to Abrahamic coalition of Judaism, Christianity, Islam. They're all founded on these 10 commandments, and it took off from there. All 3 of these religions, unless you're into some very esoteric Gnostic form of Christianity, have pretty heavy rules that you have to follow, and pretty heavy consequences by not following them and breaking them. So that gives us a sense of God or universe as a perpetrator, really. A great disciplinarian who keeps us in line and demands our worship and demands our surrender. And that's a whole different idea. That's not where we come from in Tantric Yoga, Mahasiddha Yoga. In Mahasiddha Yoga and Trika, we really like to think about the universe as a friend, the Dharma or the way of the universe as our friend. And there's this sense of being nourished and sustained by the Dharma that we already are inside. And here's the fundamental difference between those dualistic religions and the Trika Mahasiddha Yoga tradition. If we are already a holographic image, a slice of that great universe, we already are that experience. We're just trying to bring it out. Therefore, bringing out that which we already are inside and seeing it outside reflected becomes a tool to bring it out, right? So keeping the Dharma as a friend, Caroline, means remembering the Dharma teachings all the time and how they're trying to get us to orient towards being natural, being open, joyful, full of wisdom, compassion, generosity, equanimity, all these beautiful virtues. Keeping a Dharma as a friend, the first precept, means to remember the Dharma at all times so that you're starting to remain in contact through second attention with your deepest part of your essence and starting to realize through remembering the teachings in your day-to-day activities that if they guide your actions, if the teachings are guiding your actions of body, speech, and mind, that you're staying out of trouble. You're ending a lot of negative karmas that we've produced in our past life and our life up until the point when we came into the Dharma. So in that way, isn't it a friend? Isn't the Dharma a friend who is saving our butts, basically, over and over again? So there's this orientation of the Dharma as a friend, a caretaker, a nourisher, a nurturer, someone that we can rely on, right? So we're taking refuge in the Dharma. This comes back to a very ancient understanding of taking refuge. If I'm drowning, I need refuge. I need someone to save me. Throw me a life preserver. If I'm drowning in the sea of samsara, the world and all of its negativity and how I conduct myself in it, producing more negative karma, I need a life preserver. That friend, that savior at that point, is the Dharma itself. It may come in the form of a book that falls on hits you on top of the head. Oh, look at this book, and then helps you. Could be in the form of some person you meet, some teacher, who knows what it is. But in some way, when you get in touch with the Dharma and it starts to bring you and change you, bring you out of your darkness and change you into a being of light, it's very much a feeling of refuge. We're going to take refuge in those teachings. Wow, they're really showing me the nature of life and beauty as it is, and the beauty within me. I see the more I go with that, the less I do the bad thing, the less my life suffers, and the people around me suffer. So I want to go this way. I want to go into the Dharma like this and take refuge. So the first precept about keeping the Dharma as a friend is very much about keeping a constant second attention on the Dharma teachings that are relevant for us, constantly, like for our measurables or whatever. Keeping a constant experience of surrender and refuge in the Dharma, that it's my friend. It's where I find beauty. It's where I find love. It's where I find development, This is really the essence point of the first precept.
Nearly Kampananda asks,
Let's start again, please.
In your experience, how does the role and path of medicine, being a healer, help and hinder the path? Any advice for Dharma practitioners studying to be doctors?
Yeah, I've been there. And so Nirvikalpa is asking, how is the role of, I'm trying to get this exactly.
How does the role and path of medicine, being a healer, help and hinder the path?
How does the role of medicine, being a healer, hinder or help the path? Okay. Big,
And help.
and help the path. Big question, big question. Really good question. First of all, I think when you have a natural inborn tendency to want to help people as a doctor of any kind of doctoring, that's always a great thing, because it already means that you're on the path of the Dharma somehow, because you want to help. You may not be a perfected being yet. You may be full of fear or full of anger or full of lust, whatever, but you're really trying to, in your outer activity in the world, be of service, which is beautiful, right? So right away, that's a good orientation. But let's say studying now, studying the Dharma, studying medicine and becoming a medical doctor of some kind, chiropractor, Chinese medical doctor, Ayurvedic person, whatever. There's a number of wonderful things that occur in the study. So the study itself to be a doctor is amazing, because when you study the body, whether it's an energetic medical model like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, or whether it's a very mechanistic model like Western medicine, they both give you the opportunity of looking deep into the body and trying to understand why it functions the way it does, why it's designed the way it is, how it works, and so on. In that deeper understanding and study that comes out through going to school to be a doctor, a healer, it really helps you in understanding your practices. It helps with your internal alchemy. It helps with understanding how your physical body and energies are the base of all the mental, emotional, virtue energies, and how the physical body as the base for the way you relate in this world, and the energy it generates is the base for those channels that are more subtle, the chakras that are more subtle yet, and for ultimately the bindus that are the most subtle. So I think that I really believe that training in some kind of health tradition is a great aid to spiritual practice. And I think the teachers that I've learned the most from are teachers actually that were quite good with their medicine. Yeah, everybody I can think of were quite good with their Chinese medicine or with their Tibetan medicine or with their Indian Ayurveda, all the great spiritual teachers I've had. And I'm really grateful for what I learned about it. You know, I dissected bodies and did all that kind of stuff and learned all herbal medicine and blah, 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 cleansing and panchakarma and blah, blah, blah. And I think it's just super helpful. So it gives you insights that you'll apply in your alchemy. It gives you insights in how energies transform. It gives you insights into just how important stabilizing your health and living a healthy dinacharya, a healthy daily routine, is cumulatively in achieving a spiritual result. That may be one of the greatest things we get from studying to be a doctor healer, and one of the greatest things I found I had to teach my clients. And Suki and I, producing the Trika Method videos, and the over 300 videos we have on there about health of body, mind, and spirit, we're very much inspired by the sense that what people really need to do is to understand how their body works, understand how their mind, energy, and body works, this complex, and just give basic spiritual teachings like we do on Trika Method. So later we can go into more advanced teachings and stuff. But if we understand how, you know, the mind, the body, and the spirit all come together, like in Trika Method, if we give people that basic understanding, that daily application of a daily routine adds up in cycles of karma into a stability of health, into a stability of energy, into a higher level of vitality, that will then be able to be used in the spiritual life, right? We know how difficult it is in spiritual life when we're not feeling really healthy. There's a story I heard from a friend of mine who was a student of a Lama. This Lama was a meditation Lama and was, you know, everyone thought was pretty highly evolved. And he seemed a nice guy and he was highly evolved in teaching meditation. So he got sick and he had a very painful kind of disease. And he was laid up in hospital. Originally they thought, oh, he'll be out in a few days. Then it took 2 weeks, and it took a month, and it took 2 months, and it kept going. Now, my friend tells the story that the Lama started out in good spirits, but by about 2 weeks later, as the disease was coming on stronger, and he was in much more pain and much more tired, that he was kind of getting cranky. He was losing his normal equanimity, and he was like barking at everybody. By the end, 2 or 3 months came around, he was a mess. And he was saying to his student, I got to get out of here. I'm losing, you know, the whole momentum and benefit of my lifelong practice of meditation. I'm losing it in here. I'm not able to deal with this. So I think it's very important to understand this relationship, integral relationship between the body, the energy, the mind. Forget about the spirit at this point. And I think doctoring does that. And we can really do a great service to our patients by teaching them this, teaching them dinacharya. And that's, again, like why I said we created Trika method, to be able to let people go on and have a self-help, to learn how to get themselves healthier in body and mind, which of course will affect our energy. So there's these advantages that you're more knowledgeable, so you know what to do with practices in a better way. Also, if you have teaching in you, then you start to teach people, you can actually see when they have some kind of energetic imbalance faster and what might be causing it in the practices. See, understanding this really deep relationship between the practices and the physiology, physical physiology and energetic physiology, how they work together. This is extremely important, how they affect each other. And they do affect each other. And they affect the mind. And that affects our ability to access and realize our essence, which is already there, uncreated. So now, the hindrances are, at least from my experience, when you go through medical training, it may take you sometimes too much into the physicality and not really allowing you to subtleize enough, especially during your study aspect of it. But also, it can create a bit of paranoia. We start to learn all these syndromes that can occur. And I know when I was in school, I thought I had every disease that was happening. There's certain people that are highly impressionable like this, and the more they study, they feel it. Maybe that's why when I do my tantric practices, I have kind of a quick realization ability, because I'm easily impressed this way. So I'd be studying my pathology text or the diagnostic text or whatever text I was working on that was talking about disease and so on. And I would think I had all these diseases. I'd start manifesting the symptoms even. It was crazy. So that was kind of hard. That kind of didn't help. So while I was studying, it was difficult to practice really deeply, and there were these bumps in the road that came up. But afterwards, using all that knowledge and all that training as a doctor in the field, it did nothing but enhance my practice and help me help other people as I understood the integral unity of body, speech, and mind, or the physical reality of our physiology and our health, and how it creates the energy of emotion, virtue, and then how that brings us to our essence. Yeah.
Okay, so these two questions are related from Kuleshri.
Yeah.
How does seva change throughout the stages, or in the beginning, middle, and more towards the end of the 12 stages? And can you address seva as sadhana, as integration practice, and as a path?
Kuleshri is asking about seva. Let's break that huge thing down. As sadhana, integration practice, and a path. Let's do that first. So seva or service. Seva is supposed to be selfless service that we do to kind of get out of that crusty shell of our ego, ahankara, always doing everything, if not even obviously subtly, for my own benefit, right? It's a very important topic. It's an extremely important aspect of the path. Nobody will pass through stage 6 without perfecting love for others before love for yourself. That's the fact. Stage 7 is much higher than people think. People have meditation experience where they think their mind is blank. Oh, I've achieved it. I'm sitting in my essence nature. I have no thoughts. Not really. Maybe you're in one aspect of it, but it isn't there fully, and it won't be there fully until your desire to give your life over for the benefit of all beings, to put others before you, is clearly evident in your life, right? This is what we call seva, or selfless service, the act that comes from that place of deep compassion, which is inhering within you, and comes out like that. That action, all day long of body, speech, and mind, is called seva. Now, in yogic circles, that term seva was then starting to be applied to work you do around the ashram, work you do for the guru's organization or something like that. But that's really a modern kind of use of the word. How I defined it first is more accurate. But when we do selfless service for that reason, for the guru, the lama, for their organization or something, that is also seva if it comes from the right place. What are the proper ways to look at this, and how do we work it? Well, in the early, let's use 12-stage view model. In the early stages, before stage 6 is deeply, before we are deeply saturated in stage 6's devotion and love, it's not possible to say that we're really performing seva. We say we're trying to train ourselves to love all other beings and be more concerned with other beings than ourselves. That's what we're trying to do. but we can't actually say we're there yet. So we're training in seva. We're training in this. So stage 1, there's no seva because everything's about myself. Stage 2, I wake up, I put the brakes on, I get some discipline on my hedonism. I'm pretty much still got to focus on myself and controlling myself. Not a lot of time for serving others. Stage 3, it becomes more of a reality. It becomes more of something that occurs to you that you'd like to do and actually takes steps towards. Like in stage 2, it may seem great and you really, wow, those people who do seva, they're great, but you're usually too busy in stage 2 fighting your way out of the paper bag of samsara still. In 3, 4, 5, it becomes steadily in 3, 4, and 5 more and more important in the way you express yourself in the world. Because as we said in 6, you have to have complete love for others, complete devotion to your teacher, your fellow Kula mates, members of the community of practice, the whole world, all sentient beings, nature, everything. And that's the kind of love we're going for in this practice. If we don't experience that love, we haven't made it out of rigid practice, which is exemplified by stage 5's yogic approach to practice. So we have to say in stages 3, 4, and 5, we're trying really hard to become more seva-like. And we have moments of it for sure, where we love all beings and we feel pure service, but mostly it's still got a lot of us involved. Even when it's spiritual type of work, we're still thinking about ourselves and our development. And that's okay. That's normal. That's okay. But in stages 3, 4, and 5, we must keep thinking about it. We must keep the Dharma as a friend, as we said before, and the teachings in our mind as a second attention. And that is gently, what would it be like? Yes, you just pose this question in your consciousness, in your heart. What would it be like if I wasn't here, sitting here in this cafe, just thinking about myself right now, but feeling love for everybody? What would that be like? What would it be like if, and you open this up all the time, what would it be like if I felt love for everybody in the street? What would it be like if I put others' needs before my own? What would that be like? Would I actually lose? Now, we said earlier in this Yogi to Yogi talk that we have to be sharp and have our wits about us and so on. And this is tricky because in stage 5, as you transition into stage 6, you have to let go of that playbook. You have to just serve everybody, love everybody, and not really quantify who deserves it. See, if you have the idea that someone deserves your love, someone deserves your service, that is a discrimination that takes you out of the sense of oneness at the heart with all beings. Okay, so when you transition stage 5 to 6, you have to let go of that discrimination and think, oh my God, this is where I could get used, I could get hurt, I could get burned. And the truth is you can't really, because at this point you're trying to let go of that and you don't even care if you get burned anymore because samsara is full of that discrimination. Who's worthy of my love? Who's not worthy of my love? That's samsara right there. There's no joy, there's no compassion there, there's no real love there. That's different than the rational discrimination. Who deserves my attention? That can help, who can I not help? But you keep the heart of love connected completely through the whole thing, all the time. So we don't want to have that discrimination. Who deserves it? That's terrible at that point. Okay, so when it comes to seva, when you move into 5, 6, seva has to become an everyday, every moment experience of all beings deserve my love and my service. This is where we get back to the ancient Indian thing of the guest is God. And I saw this over and over in my travels in India. I'm so grateful that I traveled, on a budget, you could say, like with no money at sometimes all around India. The poorest people I met would take me in. And if they had 3 beans and a leaf for dinner, I would have a portion of their 3 beans and a leaf. And we'd all eat it together and smile, and that was it. There was nobody like, oh, I'm not getting what I want because there's foreigners in here. The opposite. Oh, you're hungry? So are we, but come share with us the little bit of food we have. Absolutely amazing. Think about this in terms of love. Oh, you're not feeling love? Oh, you're needing some service? I got energy, I got love, I got service. And people often feel like I'm going to lose energy if I do this. I'm going to lose my health. I'm going to lose my money, blah, blah, blah. Never works that way. It really doesn't. It's all illusion in your mind. Because once you feel the sense of loving humanity, wanting to serve them right till your last breath, you're finally fulfilled. Stage 6 is that bridge between 6 and 7, where at 7 it's irreversible realization. It's not full yet, but it's irreversible. And it's irreversible very much because you do have the sense of I and all others are just spontaneous arising awareness beings with no intrinsic reality or independence at all. Even quantum mechanics tells us we're all just one waveform, not a bunch of different waveforms, really just one big waveform. And in that sense, we're all really one, you know? So we have to have this experience, and seva at that level gets there. So what can I do? In stage 3, stage 4, I can engage in some type of active process of serving others. And I would probably schedule it as something I do routinely to try to learn how to give. A soup line and a kitchen line, you know, or building homes for the homeless, whatever that is for you. But remember that you can't get your ego hooked on it. You just want to serve and let that develop within you, the capacity for generosity, love, and compassion someday will be there in its full sense. Then in stage 5, you have to start to work that idea of giving and loving and serving all day long, 24/7 unbroken. This is often used in traditional Indian guru culture and Tibetan Lama culture as serving the guru, guru seva. It's common teaching in the guru yoga of the one-to-one, not the guru yoga of you connecting to your essence directly, but the one-to-one relationship between you and your mentor so that you can connect to your essence directly, right? They're all different levels of the same practice called guru yoga. In the outer level of connecting to your mentor one-to-one, we do want to be around them to serve them. We do want to have that opportunity when we go to retreat once a year for a week, that we get to be in the bhava, or the state of surrender, the state of devotion, the state of service, of seva. Why? Because the teaching often comes from this level, the outer level of guru yoga. If you can't love your lama, love your guru unconditionally, you will never be able to love anybody. Now, why do they say that? In other words, you'll never know your real essence, because essence is love. So why do they say this teaching? Why does it have to be the guru? The lama or the guru is icon of essence. Sure, eventually everybody in the universe can be our own icon of essence. That'd be lovely, and we'll get that at stage 7 and above. But right now, the guru is chosen by our independent ahankara, ego structure, trying to find its way back from samsara into nirvana and eventually enlightenment. We choose from that structure to have a person who acts as the pivot point for us to give that love to. And why? Because that person is supposed to be generated in our minds as someone who is not wanting something from us for that love. In other words, everybody in our life wants something from us. Even our parents are rarely unconditional, rarely, right? Even when parents are parenting their children, there's usually some conditional relational energy there. So we take this special ability of our minds to project onto, and I'm saying project onto, the guru or lama, the infallibility of unconditionality, that they don't require anything from us in order to love us unconditionally. As we do that, as we project that onto our guru or lama, and we work with that and become real with that and become open in our heart to serve, no matter what, means, and this, I'm telling you real examples from my life. When I had to sit outside in the sun of baking Bihar, 45 degrees, 50 degrees Celsius, people dying, like in hundreds of people dying during these heat waves, or in the winter when it's freezing, or in the monsoon when it's raining. And I'm sitting out there belted by the weather on my guru's doorstep of his kutir, waiting to have an audience to be able to ask something, you know, and I'm going through all the stages of being super, super pissed and, you know, whatever, until I work through all of it in my heart. I'm like, no, you know, this is my guru. This is my icon of essence. Whatever he deems is necessary, whatever she deems is necessary, whether I have to sit here 3 more weeks, all I'm here to do is serve them so they can do what they do better. And I trust the universe. This is this big surrender that begins to happen, trusting that happens. And then you go through this place where your heart completely changes and you're open. You're in this beautiful, shining place. And it just so happened that almost every time that would happen, my gurus or lamas would simply appear at that moment. Oh, hi, we've got time now to talk. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I just got through myself here, over myself and into like just completely loving them and wanting to support them and what they do. Didn't care if I even got to see them on this trip. Felt bad for being a schmo, wanting just what I could get, you know, when they have this great job to help all these beings, and all I could think about was myself. And they're putting out all this energy all the time. You know, I just went through that whole process and boom, they would show up. It's kind of cute to see that synchronicity in the universe at times. So in the way of becoming seva itself, we have to learn to love some icon of essence that we can do that with. Now, people talk about using dead gurus and so forth for this. I find that very difficult because you don't have any interaction with them. They can't leave you on the doorstep for 2 weeks in the snow and really get you pissed off, right? So there has to be another way to work with it. I think live teachers are much better for this. So in stage 5, you work with that very strongly and you overcome the last vestiges of your spiritual materialism, of being seen and approved of, and what could you say? Like being stroked by your guru, like, look how great I am. You want to be stroked by them. You shift all that, you let go of all that stuff, and you're like, okay, I'm here completely to serve. Just love. I just want to love everybody and everything. And you get that. So that's where you get that the guru and the love and surrender to the guru at stage 5 transitions you to stage 6 and 7. Now, some people will say, oh my God, that's gonna leave you open and vulnerable, and that means you're not ready for the practice. That means don't do the practice. If you come out of it in any way, shape, or form, when you're devoting to your teacher to try to move into seva through stage 5 and 6, if you come out of that anywhere where you judge them and you say, oh, they were trying to abuse me, then you didn't even understand the whole practice from the beginning. Even if they did try to abuse you, you didn't do it. There are many examples in the mythology of India and in real life where teachers have taken advantage of students, and the students have still gotten enlightened because the student had the proper teaching on the Guru Yoga and the proper practice. And that's really what we have to get from this. It's about you and your development, but not in an egotistical sense, okay? So that becomes integration then at 5. So at 5, you're strenuously trying to hold that place of open love all the time, not just for the teacher, of course, because in the Guru Yoga teachings in the outer level at stage 5 is also that everybody should be seen as your teacher. So you love the teacher unconditionally, but now you're also applying this kind of visual situation, imagining all day that each person is your teacher and you love them as well. And you start to see this in people who have a service-oriented mind. They jump up and they serve much faster than other people who are more self-absorbed. Like the whole last year of the last real Agora guru in the public, the big guy who died, I think it was in the 80s, late 80s or 90s it could have been. He took an apartment in New York City, oddly enough. He was from Varanasi, the ashram in Varanasi. He took an apartment in New York City for 1 year. Took his 12 main disciples with him there. And I knew one of them quite well. He told me these stories. I knew 3 of them actually, but one of them quite well. And this Agora master said, you're all here to learn the ultimate teaching of how to become one with your own essence. They said, oh, fantastic. Ready for all the great Kriya Yoga, the mind expanding mantras, the Shaktipata you're going to give us. He's like, no. It's nothing like that. The training is this. After I finish this talk to you, I'm not going to talk again. I'm going to die in a year from now. I'm not going to talk again. I think he had cancer. And he said, but you're all going to get it because you're going to get my training. And they're going to say, what is that training? He said, you'll see. So he stopped talking. And they all just sat around with him in the apartment in New York. I think it was 28th Street, like in Madison, right around there. I used to live around there. It was kind of wow. And what he did was he sat there and he would put out his hand, palm up. Probably can't see. He would just sit there and just put his palm up like that. And then the students said it took them like a day or two to figure out he was just trying to have us put something in the hand, you know? So somebody put something in the hand and he was like, turn the hand over. Like, no, that's not it. There's something else. That's not it. So this process would go on until they found what he wanted. And then he would use it, eat it, use it, whatever. This is how he communicated with them all day long for a year. And he gave them more and more tests where it wasn't just something that was in the apartment. They had to go out and find it outside and bring it back. He did this over and over again. They said that they found it frantic. They found it like mind frying. But at the end of the year, my friend reported to me that all the Agora gurus, acharyas in training in this system, they were all in this union with him, completely psychic union with him, that whatever he wanted, they were able to give him. And when they all meditated with him, they finally went deep into the place where he was in meditation. So this is beautiful, beautiful example of really high-level Guru Yoga and how the seva aspect of them wanting to serve him was on their mind all day long. In the beginning, a bit frantic, of course, but once they got the game and relaxed into it, it became their sadhana. Okay. Now, in stages above stage 6, how seva is used at that point, it's no longer a tool, no longer a practice that has to be used like a tool. It's who you are. You love all beings, you serve all beings. So how you do it after that's up to you. You want to be a social justice warrior in the best sense of that word, or you want to be an activist and start some kind of activism, save the planet, save humanity, save the children, the women, whatever, go for it. That's all good. It doesn't matter. You want to do nothing at home but sit home and meditate. That is seva as well, because at that point, a being who has reached a very high level, when every time they practice, that radiates into the universe. And of course, we have the dedication of merit prayer and Shantipat prayers at the end of all of our practices as well. So that's how that works. So hopefully this is a bit more understanding about seva. Did I cover all the aspects of that question, Suki, from Kaleshwan? Okay. Let's move on to a new one. Hope you enjoyed the answer there. If I left anything out, you can ask me next time. Two more questions, we'll cap it there.
Okay, so Carolyn had another one. She wants to put a naga stone in her garden. Can you give advice about the size of rocks, placements, and any mantras needed to juice it up?
Okay, putting a naga stone in your garden. Okay, great. So Carolyn's talking about a naga stone. We used to have these stones at the land at the center in Thailand. You take a whatever size is appropriate for you. Actually, we had one in our Oakland backyard as well, and it developed incredible energy. So what you do traditionally, let's say this my hand is the stone. Usually get this kind of uprightish type of stone, a flattish surface, but it can be any stone. And the reason it's like this is because you want to paint something on it. So what you paint on it are serpents, nagas, right? A lot of times they'll paint them like the caduceus, right? The 2 interweaving serpents, and then the heads are up top like this. But it can be any kind of serpent painting, any kind of cobras, that kind of thing, dragony energy, whatever you want to do. Because nagas are energies of vidya shakti. Nagas are energies of knowledge and power that are personified kind of as these beings that are sinuous and undulating, yet penetrating and powerful. So there are said to be nagas in the earth, nagas in the water, nagas in the sky, nagas in the rays of the sun. So I'm sure the ancient masters were describing energies that were in nature themselves, in nature itself, how there's really no difference between nature and spiritual in the end, if you can extract the energy of it, right? So the nagas are all these different experiences of energy of knowledge, vidya shakti arising to these beings who could see nagas and hear them and so forth. The great Kashmiri Yogin scholar, philosopher Abhinavagupta credits many, many categories of nagas with most of his teachings, actually. And there are many other teachers who do the same thing. There are also classes of nagas that are seen to be destructive and dangerous, and that can make you sick if they get in your body. So you have to understand nagas a little bit more than being naive about it. Now, we would take a stone, you would paint it black, like Mick said, and then you would put paint the snakes on there. You put that stone in the backyard, usually in the southwest position. Could be in the southwest, could be in the northwest. It depends what you're really trying to do with it. If you want it for knowledge and for blessing, then you might put it in the northwest for knowledge, right? That's an area of libraries and knowledge, or the library in the house. It's not the area of the altar, the main altar. It could be a sub-altar for sure. Houses can be full of altars. But the main altars would be in the east or northeast, sometimes the north. So sometimes people do it in the southwest to attract a certain type of naga. Sometimes people do it. I would recommend northwest probably, or east. Northwest or east. East, you tend to attract the nagas that are more said to be like the crystal nagas, the ones that are in the sunlight rays, the one that teach the high shining meditational experience. In the northwest is more the vidya shakti nagas, the nagas that act like the dakinis that are librarians, right, and bring knowledge, the jade lads or jade ladies in Taoism, etc. That category of being. And then you perform the offerings. Very simple offerings. You can do elaborate puja if you want. There are formats for Naga Puja. And I'm very sure that Chandrabhuti, who lives in the Bay Area, many people right now online know Chandrabhuti and have a contact for her, Caroline, if you haven't met her yet. She used to be a pujari at the land in Thailand. She was trained in puja very well. And I recently saw a format that she had put together for students to use for Naga Puja at the stones. So you can do an elaborate, you can contact her and get a copy, I'm pretty sure, or see if someone has a copy. You can get on the discussion chat threads, and anybody who has a copy, let Caroline know by letting her know on the thread that you got a copy. You guys can hook up on Messenger and get it. So you can do a very simple type of Naga situation, or you can do a more elaborate one. You want to do a simple offering, here's what you do. You have a bell, you have some water, usually water that has some kind of nice scent in it, like some nice sweet herbs or essential oil. You can also have essential oils that you rub directly on the stone as making offerings. But you have a bell, you have some incense, you have some foodstuffs, you have some essential oil maybe, but basically very simple, and some flowers. And you just offer these offerings and toss them at the stone. And at the end, the classic offering for the Nagas is milk. So you pour milk over the stone as you're offering mantras as well. And then you offer that water that I said afterwards to clean the stone so it doesn't get smelly and everything. And then it goes down into the earth. And you'll find that actually that earth underneath the Naga stone will become a real meeting point for earthworms, really good earthworms that you need to make soil really good. So if you have permaculture going on as well, you could dig 1 foot to either side of the Naga stone and have a lot of really nice worms come in by putting some compost in there. They'll crawl in there. You scoop them up and then put them into your other area. Be careful not to cut them when you dig, right? You put them in the other area where you're trying to grow your food. So simple ringing of the bell and the incense going, Om Rajanagaya Namaha, Om Rajanagaya Namaha, Om Rajanagaya Namaha. So there you're making a mantra to, a simple salutatory mantra to the king of the Nagas, which then cascades down through all the other helpful Nagas. And you're asking the Nagas, maybe you'll do a Naga Suktam or something larger you can chant, but you can just pray and ask that the Nagas are drawn to this stone, drawn to this area to bless your house, protect your house from earthquakes, protect from fire. This is also, they can be very protective this way too. Protect from flood, all natural disasters and so on. There's another way to do it. Excuse me. So you do this simple Naga offering or you do more elaborate, but this is how you do it. Did I cover everything in the question? Okay, next question.
So there's
There's going to be two more. Suki's letting another one in.
Susie Darren asks, I had a massage the other day and found that I spontaneously peeked into higher glimpses of my nature. What is it about touch that opens up those energetics?
That's a great question. So Susie had a massage the other day and found out she had some peak experiences where she saw and opened up into her essence. What is it about massage and touch that does this? Well, it's amazing you should say this, because I found that the 5 years intensively that I practiced and taught Lomi Lomi, Lomi Ha'amaliola, the very spiritual form of Lomi Lomi from the temples in Hawaii, not the Christianized version of Lomi Lomi taught by Auntie Margaret and her students, that I had the same peaks into essence, and it really helped stabilize a lot of my practice, and it did for the people that were practicing it spiritually and receiving the massage and giving as well. And here it's an interesting point about touch. I said to people who receive the massage, but also if you know how to give it, you get it as well. And I get it every time I give a massage. So what is that? Touch, out of the 5 senses, was said to be the most powerful sense for giving us the vehicle into our essence, because it's the only sense that's truly bi-directional, right? If I look at someone, I can see them, but they may not be seeing me. So sight isn't truly bi-directional. Only touch is bi-directional, and only touch is considered to be the highest form of this. And this is like getting into esoteric theory here now, but why a lot of tantrikas felt that the sexual sadhanas, sexual meditation practices were, the highest echelon a person could go into. Like Abhinavagupta said, his chapter 28 is the essence of all the tantra that he's ever learned, the highest practice. And there was a guy who had 2 mirror consorts that were with him night and day. So all 3 of them were very highly enlightened beings, and they were practicing this, what he called the innermost aspect of the Krama Tantra, which was the sexual sadhana. Okay, so many people have said things like this, and why? It's exactly the same principle, because touch is a bidirectional experience of sense. And through that bidirectional experience, we both can have the same connection into essence. Now, on some level, when we just receive touch, I think when you're talking about massage and why does it put you in so deep, well, most of us are starved for authentically intimate touch. You know, you get a slap on the back from, hey, how's it going? Slap on the back from your buddy, or we shake hands. You know, we don't really have authentically intimate touch outside of sensuality leading into sexual arousal and sexuality. And that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about touch as a gateway to open us to our essence, to healing, to self-discovery, to who we really are. And touch in that vehicle can do that. So we're going to have very mild, gentle, clothes on, no weirdness, no genital whatever touching exercises going on in some of the trainings that we do, where we're trying to awaken the five senses. We're going to do them right here. In fact, we have one coming up in February, right? February of 2020. Reclaiming passion, basically, it's called. So this is a very powerful way for us to reclaim this experience, get in touch with our deeper energy. Now, massage, think about it. You're laying there, you've put this time out to receive the massage from a busy life, you're stressed out dad or mom or whatever, business person, all the above. Well, now you get to really relax. So there's this specified time, you've got a sankalpa, a resolve to relax, you let go. And now you're receiving intimate touch for the first time, you know, touch like you don't usually get. Oh, that's so soft, and that person really feels, and they're not just trying to rush through it, they're really centered and present when they're giving you that experience of that massage, and you feel it, and it helps you to go deeper. So just like I talked about Yoga Nidra and Silva Mind Control method, letting you go deep into alpha and theta and delta, massage can also take you really deep, because you're surrendering, right? Not so much Asian massage that's trying to fix things, you know, like Tui Na and Thai, and they're jerking you around and everything. You need massage that's specifically for this, like an Esalen spiritual massage, a Lomi Lomi spiritual massage, etc., that can allow you not to be jostled so much, right? Then your mind can relax. You can really open. You can become one with that massage, and you can have breakthroughs into your essence simply by relaxing so deeply. And it starts to show you, wow, meditation practice, ultimate non-dual meditation practice is really that. I'm supposed to learn how to relax so deeply that my ahankara even relaxes. That the thing which is above my mind relaxes. And then the things that are above my mind before enlightenment, those things, those kanchukas are relaxing. Wow, those veils on my essence are relaxing. It can teach us how to relax, that massage. And certainly we can open very deeply in that way. And that's what's so beautiful about it, actually. So massage can show us glimpses by going in very deeply like that. It's the agency of touch. It's bi-directional. And I highly recommend, can you grab Touch of Shakti off the shelves, please? I highly recommend, if you're into this and you want to understand some of the basis for this in spiritual development, there's a great book called Touch of Shakti. Is it on the shelves there? I brought the extra copy down. It may not have something. Look on the right side. Look on the right side. Right there in front of you. I'll always find your way for you. Don't worry. Touch of Shakti. Okay? Ernst Fillinger. This book is really good. Thanks. This book is really good. It gives the theoretical, philosophical background on why touch works this way. And then you take this into receiving a massage or a Lomi Lomi or your sexual practice with your partner, and you can really explode that whole experience. And you can really just open it up for you. But again, touch is special, as you'll read in the book, because it's the only bi-directional sense we have. And it's possible that we can, here it goes, touch the divine, and the divine can touch us. So if we're relaxing, receiving real intimate physical touch from massage therapists, we have the symbolic bimba pratibimba happening. We're relaxing to being touched by essence. We're being touched by a human at the same time. We're unguarded. We've opened up. No armoring. How beautiful to have the deepest touch of our essence flow back and forth between us, right? Bi-directionally, as we're being touched by another human being. It's just gorgeous. And the way, the way we were trained to understand this in Lomi Lomi practice was by my kahuna. And real kahuna is the ancient style. They're all gone now. But the real old kahunas that all passed away the past 20 years were deep gurus, like equal to any lama or guru on the planet. They really could teach spirituality. And one of the things they taught us was, when you're giving, you should be feeling like you're receiving. When you're giving that motion down the body, with your arms, not done with the hands much, it's done by the forearms. So first you have to develop forearms that become super sensitive. Then you have to develop the movement through the hula training and the warrior training. There's all kinds of stuff you do in this, and the chanting and everything, to move the energy and the breathing. And then when you feel this motion, everybody was excited to do it, to learn it, to receive it in the trainings I had with my kahuna. But in my side discussions with him, I said, I'm just as excited or more excited to give it. He said, that's crucial that you have that awakening, because you really understand now that in the giving, you actually feel it too. You receive it because you're in that contact. You're in that sensuality in a bidirectional sense. So they were talking about it a long time ago. Okay, that's why the massage and the touch is so great. And that's why the bidirectionality of touch should be awakened within us every time we have an opportunity for intimate touch. Now, I'm not big on these cuddle parties that these young people have today. I think it's kind of silly, but hey, if it works for you, you might have some deep opening in one of those. Who knows? Yeah, whatever. But we can put a lot more awareness into our hugs that we do with each other. They don't have to be these long, extended, new agey things, but really being present. And I received actual real hug training in the Hawaiian training I received as well. How to actually hug, how to actually melt into each other for a moment. Because if you can just reach that quickly, boom. In the sexual sadhanas and sexual meditation practices, I learned when you're touching your third eyes together and you're looking eye to eye, that touch is quite intimate and opens up a touch through the eyes. So now eyes are touching. So sense of sight is brought into sense of touch. Wow, completely powerful and totally transcends all duality, puts us in our nature. It's just amazing. So enough said on that. I get excited about the topic because it's very good. One more you said, or two more?
Yeah.
One more.
Okay, Rachel asks, greetings, Dharma. Can you please advise on pranayama practices to do during and after pregnancy? Are there any that can be done during birth itself?
Pranayama practices during pregnancy. Well, in the first 3 months of pregnancy, I would do everything except kumbhaks, do everything except uddiyana bandha. You can even do mula bandha, no problem. In fact, that can be continued all the way through as long as you're not pulling up your abdomen, right? I wouldn't do forceful pranayama stuff. So let's say I was going to do Bhastrika pranayama in the first 3 months. I would just do it smoothly. I would do the motion, but not, I would just go, it's kind of smooth, almost like a Wim Hof breathing, but not so strong, right? That's pretty much the guideline. Nadi Shodhana through the whole pregnancy, no problem. You have to let go. As a female practitioner, there are just certain times of your life and each month, if you still have a period, you didn't learn how to slay the red dragon yet, there are certain times in a month and during pregnancy and so forth where you just cannot practice like you did as a woman of strength and yogini vitality before. You just give it up in service to producing another life. But you certainly want the prana to pervade you and not lose that prana. So in that case, your Nadi Shodhana pranayama, your alternate nostril breathing becomes really important. And after all, it is one of the most important of all the pranayams. Everybody's into the fiery, powerful pranayams, but actually Nadi Shodhana is really one of the higher level pranayams. It's subtler, it works on a subtle channel level, and it can work on a much deeper level of mind because you're actually extending your breath very, very long with it until eventually there's no breath practice necessary anymore. You reach realization. So here you are in pregnancy in the first 3 months, the first trimester. You can do Bhastrika, you can do Kapalabhati a little bit. I wouldn't be too violent shaking the belly, especially if your Ayurveda physician says or your Western physician says that your womb is a bit weak. There can be that condition. Then you really don't want to be forcing rapid, undulations of your belly using certain methodologies like Kapalabhati or Bhastrika pranayama. But certainly, again, Nadi Shodhana can be done. Ujjayi pranayama, fantastic. So Ujjayi and Nadi Shodhana are great pranayams. You might get hot at times. Shitkari, Shitali, these two pranayams can be very good during that time as well. You can find all these in Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandha book or come to our trainings. Did I cover, is that what she was asking? Basically, what pranayams can you do all the way through the pregnancy? During birth itself, I don't think you need to worry about any pranayam. I'm guessing that this is your first child. You are going to be taken on a journey of your own breath by Mother Universe herself. Mother Kundalini is going to go, let me show you how to breathe, scream, and curse at your partner right now. And you'll be, enjoying the whole thing. So just let it take you. It'll tell you how to breathe and work. It's only when the head gets in the way of birth that we try to breathe a special way or something. Maybe some people need that if they're too much of a head case. But if you're a yogini and you've really been working on it, on surrender, the body will tell you what to do. And you'll have natural bastrikas start, you probably through your mouth, not your nose. I've seen this in the many births that I've attended. Both of my children were born into my hands, and I took them underwater or whatever for one of them and cut the umbilical cord and did all it myself some. And I worked, and set in a lot of births earlier than that as well. So I've never seen a woman who was really surrendered do like this real tranquil birth that the New Agers try to tell you you're supposed to have if you have no karma. Don't believe that for a second. You're going to be hurting. It's going to be wild, but it's going to be amazing and great. And you're going to do wonderful. You're going to be awesome. And you're just going to breathe. And your body's going to tell you how to breathe. Your body's going to tell you everything. Take cues from your midwives on how to push, when to hold back. That's important as a beginner. But the breathing will come pretty natural. Don't try to do pranayama during it. Afterwards, get your yoni healed as fast as you can. Get everything you can Ayurvedically for your yoni to heal well. Stay with the nadi shodhanas. Start the mula bandhas, the tree bandhas, as soon as you feel strong enough again. And then get back to your pranayama, to giving integrity back to the lower kumbha, physical lower kumbha, as fast as you can. That's what you want to do, okay? But, I wouldn't start back on the strong breathing practices for about 4 to 6 weeks, I'd say. Especially if you had really bad tearing, or any kind of complications, placenta previa, anything like that, I'd be careful, or eclampsia, any of those kind of things, okay? Even preeclampsia. So if you had any of those conditions, I wouldn't do it. Any kind of hypertension, I wouldn't do it earlier than 6 weeks, and I'd check with my doctor. But other than that, I'd go right at it in about 6 weeks after, when all the healing's done, okay? Great. Have a great birth. How wonderful. Congratulations. Any more?
Just let people know that the schedule for 2020 will be posted by the end of the week.
Well, yeah, we finished the schedule for 2020 and 2021, but we're going to release the schedule this is for trainings and retreats here in Costa Rica and outside of Costa Rica, but we're going to release the 2020 schedule first, because we have to do the write-up and description for all the retreats in 2021 still. So we're almost at the end, double checking and editing, making sure no mistakes in the dates and the times and the costs and everything. So all of the retreats for 2020 will be out very soon, as listed as announcement events on this group and on the homepage. Anything else? That's it. Okay. So we look forward to seeing you somewhere down the road. I didn't get a lot of response, I think. Is that right, Padma? We're going to be in Thailand. Okay. I think the people who live in Koh Phangan, who write me a lot, aren't there right now. I was told that the season everybody goes to practice there is like January to March. So we're not in that season. So I'm not going to be giving a lecture in Koh Phangan after all. But if you want to try to find me in my hotel and you're the 2 or 3 people that are there, feel free to come out. Okay, I'm going to be on my honeymoon, but we'll love to chat to you anyway. Love to see you. All right, everybody. Have a beautiful whatever until we see you next. And please love all beings. Be kind-hearted. Stay out of the 6 realms. Remember your base. Be compassionate and serve all as yourself. Sarva Mangalam.